Susan Marmot, who has done work with Beyond Recovery for 5 years, helping prisoners with their mental health, and currently works for Slice of Happiness, helping homeless people. And she also runs a course called Relationship Ready, because before she came to the 3 principles, I believe she struggled with relationships and then found the man of her dreams and got married and is now living happily ever after. So I'd just like to introduce you like that, Susan. And as a topic is Remap Your Life, say if you could try and explain how you came across how to, well, I'm guessing it's through the 3 principles, help you with relationships.
Yes, well, thank you for that introduction. Yeah, Relationship Ready is a course that is Leela Turner's sort of baby, and I facilitate on it because I'm just really interested to share what I saw about relationship, because I can't quite believe it for myself, because it was really difficult for me, and for many years. And then I started to see something else, and it became really easy. And any of us have come across this understanding. We're used to kind of seeing big shifts, but I couldn't quite believe how literally relationship went from really hard to really easy. So hello, Donna. Welcome. She's a friend of mine. So before the principles, which was for me around 2013. So I was aged. How old was I? I was in my late 40s, I guess, when I came across the principles. And I'd been married. I'd had a marriage that had ended about 18 years before I came across the principles. And I'd had lots of different dating experiences that with various guys, but from a place of kind of very low self-esteem. And I was very much kind of looking for the relationship to kind of make me feel better, or to fix me. So, when I was thinking about this tonight in terms of remapping your life, I was thinking about how I kind of very much felt like I didn't have the map. I didn't know how to do it. And it's, I'd had quite a lot of relationships. So it's not like I hadn't had them. And I was fumbling my way through, but I really wanted to sort of be handed some sort of map that you open, and it says, you start here, and then you go to here, and then maybe if there's this issue, then you take this road, and if there's that issue, I wanted something to show me how to do it, because I kept trying to do my absolute best, but it was really, really hard. So so I felt like I really didn't have the map, and I was kind of, I was thinking about it in terms of, I really felt like I was kind of lost at sea all the time. And I felt like I was, I kind of can go quite far with that metaphor, because I really felt like I was treading water to try and keep going, or keep surviving, or keep trying to work out how to do this relationship better. And I kept getting hurt. And I kept feeling like I needed to protect myself and be kind of work out how to keep myself safe, but not so safe that I wouldn't dare put myself out there. It was kind of a bit of a balance of like, in a way you've got to dive in, right? But at the same time, you want to dive in with kind of, as long as I don't get too hurt, or, with these kind of provisos. And so basically the map I kind of made up for myself was that, if I just met the right person, then I would feel better about myself. I would feel loved. You know, the things I really wanted to feel were, I wanted somebody who'd understand me, who'd get me, who I could feel comfortable with. But really what I was doing was, like I said, I was kind of treading water and pedaling really hard to try and get those things, and really showing up as anything but myself. So for me, I thought that I needed to kind of pretend to be more together than I felt, or pretend to be less bothered by things than I really felt, or pretend not to show that I was constantly in my head trying to work everything out about what was going on in the relationship or what would happen in the future, but kind of while trying to look quite cool. So yeah, it was really, really hard. And and you know, the other thing that I didn't have the kind of map for was that, you know, if anything was going wrong in the relationship, according to the wrong map that I had, the wrong map, my wrong map said that I needed to talk to them about it. So it would send me off to that direction. So my map would say, if there's a problem, go talk to them, go engage with them about this problem. And it never panned out for me, but I couldn't think of anything else to do. What else could you do, right? It's like, if there's a problem, you've got to talk about it. That's what I thought. That was according to the map that I was working from. You had to talk about it. So yeah, so kind of everything about relationship and everything about the map that I was using was about things being outside in, that this relationship was any relationship was going to make me feel better, that, you know, don't show them who you really are. Keep that hidden. If there's any kind of problem, go talk to them about it. And in order to keep yourself kind of safe and so you don't get hurt, think about everything a lot so that you protect yourself. I used to say, oh, I don't trust people in relationship. I didn't trust guys with me. I felt like I was too sensitive or vulnerable or whatever it was, and I didn't trust them. But really what I was saying is I didn't trust me, but I didn't know, because I didn't have the right map, that trusting me was the important thing, trusting me to know how to do this or what to do. So I was really all out at sea. And, you know, when I drew it today as a little diagram, I kind of have this treasure island, right, where all the good things was. And I was all out at sea, you know, looking I was, you know, was hitting up against rocks. I was trying, you know, my sea was not like a beautiful turquoise Caribbean sea. It was like, it looked like the bloody English Channel. It was dark and cold and not very enticing in that sea. So that was very much how it kind of looked for me before. Yeah, so did I answer your question? I've forgotten the question now. What was the question?
So yes, when did you have the realization of how to, okay, one of the examples you gave was that you said if there was a problem, you'd have to talk about that problem. So yeah. What's different now for you when the problem is it that you don't think of them as problems anymore, or do you just not tackle it? What do you do?
Brilliant. It's a good question. So so to me, okay, so going back to my analogy of this treasure island where the real map is, where I could where it's easy and it's lovely, and it's like very little belongs on that island, if you call that the island of, you know, of our relationship. It's very little that belongs in there, you see. Whereas before, if I felt uncomfortable or insecure about something, then it would show up as like an insecurity in me. Like, say they were very they seemed like they weren't really with me, they weren't really listening to me, they weren't really getting me, I didn't feel understood or whatever, I'd be starting to think, what's wrong with me, or what's wrong with the relationship, or are they about to leave me, or whatever it was. So, you know, the insecurity would start. And then I'd think, I have to talk to them about it, because I would feel so uncomfortable. And I just thought, I need to feel better. So I think, well, if I could just talk to them in my head, they would reassure me and I would feel better. But it didn't go like that. So I would talk to them about this sort of fumbling mess of, you know, what's wrong with you? Why are you distracted? What does it mean? Are you not that into me? Or whatever it was, some sort of fumbling mess. And that conversation would not go well. So I'd go from feeling some insecurity to, at the end of that conversation, feeling incredibly insecure. Like if I thought that I was about to be chucked, I'm pretty damn sure I am now. So yeah, and I'm laughing about it, but of course I really was doing my best, and it really was not fun. And you know, some of those people I was really into, and I really was desperate for it to work, but felt like it was kind of going away from me. So now if I feel some sort of urgency, I need to talk to my partner, I don't think it is telling me anything about the relationship, right? It doesn't, that's not even my first thought. That's never been a thought. I've been with my partner for 5 years now, 5.5 years, maybe even longer now, since 2015. And it's like, I see that discomfort that I'm feeling is telling me something about my head. It doesn't have any place on our beautiful island. It doesn't need to be brought in there. I'm just running some insecurity or some discomfort, uncomfortable thinking. So most of the time I wouldn't even address it, and certainly not from there. So if I needed to, or I felt like there was something I wanted to address with my partner, then I personally would wait to see how that looked when I wasn't feeling so compelled to talk to them. So when I was a bit calmer, I'd see how that looked. And maybe I'd still want to talk to them about it. And then I would talk to them from there, because that conversation would go better. Or there may not even be an issue. I might not even remember what was bothering me. That happens a lot. Yeah, so you know, I used to, on my old map, the we need to talk was very important and felt very real. Now on my new map, we need to talk doesn't, you know, that's signposting that we really do not need to talk. That's what that means to me now, especially not when I'm feeling like this. Let's see how it looks when I'm not feeling like this. And, you know, if I do want to talk to my partner about something, I do, and whether it's my partner or anybody, I need to talk to somebody about something. I do like to not have an outcome on it, or want a particular, you know, response. It's like, I like to be neutral, in the sense that I really am genuinely asking about, or telling them how I feel, and want to hear how it looks for them. Because when I do have a kind of you know, skin in the game of wanting it to work out a certain way, or for them to respond in a particular way, because that's the way I think about it, that doesn't go well either.
So it's almost like you used to behave in a way which, and I've done it myself, which could be labelled desperate. I mean, it's not to say you were desperate, you know what I'm trying to say, just because you think that's reassurance. So desperate reassurance rather than a desperate person.
Right.
Whereas now you don't feel the need for that reassurance, because you feel, is it because you feel more comfortable with him?
Well, it's so interesting, because I do remember that feeling, and I love the way you call it desperate, because that was it. I was feeling so awful inside of me, and all I wanted, it seemed like such a small ask, all I wanted was them to tell me that they loved me and I was okay. That's all I wanted, right? I didn't want to hear any other shit, any other stuff. I was, you know, it's very specific. I was looking for reassurance that I was okay and there's nothing wrong here, and give me a cuddle. That's what I wanted. But it never panned out like that. I don't know if you've had those desperate conversations where you're looking for something specific. So I suppose now, if I was feeling a bit insecure and wanted a cuddle or something like that, I'd just go and get a cuddle. I probably wouldn't even ask. I'd just sidle up and land on there. But yeah, it's you know, I know where my own okayness comes from, which wasn't on my first map. So on my first map, all my okayness was about going to get it from outside places to make me feel okay. And now, you know, ultimately on my Treasure Island map, I know that my okayness comes from inside of me. It's me I need to trust. It's me I need to listen to. It's me that's off if I'm feeling desperate or insecure. So it's like a cuddle's lovely, but actually being told something from the outside now, it won't even make a difference if I'm still running whatever I'm running on the inside, like I'm not good enough or I've done this and it's wrong or whatever, and someone says no, it's all fine. It's nice to hear those words, but it won't do anything for me until from the inside I feel differently about it.
Yeah, I can really relate to that on a personal level, all the insecurity and wanting. Personally, I always used to think that other people's opinions were more valid than my own. Don't know if you can relate to that. That's something that a way I used to be all the time.
Yeah.
If anybody else has got any questions or any comments.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that point, that I thought everybody else knew better than me, and I would always go to outside people to run things past them to see what they thought, and not always just one person. It might be a few people, or you may go to different people depending on what kind of answer you're looking for. So, you know, I've got Lily's on this call here, and Lily's always she just tells it as it is. So if I don't want to hear it as it is, I am not going to call Lily because she'll tell me how it is, right? So you go and call someone who you know will be, oh yeah, they're there, poor, you know, poor me or whatever. So it's, yeah, no, I can definitely relate to in my old map. I wasn't my I wasn't my, like, I didn't look to me to as the knower of what's right for me. And in my new treasure map, where else am I going to look? Nowhere else makes sense. I mean, yeah, you want to talk to people or listen to people or hear people, but I'll always do now what feels right for me. And it's such a relief, even just saying that.
Go on, Wendy.
Hey, Wendy.
Just what you said, Susan, about those words, wanting, you know, previously wanting to be told I love you, you know, they are just two words and anybody can say them and there could be absolutely no genuine feeling in them. So what I'm getting is, you know, I guess we're all looking for a feeling within ourselves and we'd like a feeling from someone else, that, you know, it doesn't, the words I love you don't necessarily convey that, do they? Because they're just two words, and we all know, and you know, people do say it to partners or girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever, and not mean it at all, because it can get them what they want. But it's right, we need the feeling within ourselves, that self-love or whatever, and then to feel like we're getting a feeling from someone else, I think.
Yeah, I think I agree, and that was also that to me was really quite a shock when I saw that in action, because like I I remember thinking, being like filled with this feeling like I really loved my husband, and I got like really filled up with it, and I thought, oh my God, I love you. And I sort of said the words, but I really saw how it all came from me, and it came out of me, and I said it to him. But I never knew I love you came from inside me. I thought I love you came because they were like a certain way. And then I go, I love you. And it's like, I didn't realize that all my feelings are coming from me. Like Jeremy doesn't have to be in the room for me to be filled with I love you. Nobody has to be in the room for me to be filled with I love you. Or Jeremy can be standing right there. But if I'm in a heady, bad mood, I couldn't get hold of I love you if I tried. You know, I couldn't get filled with that feeling. So that was really, really interesting to me, to see how much of my experience comes from getting just filled up with my own kind of emptiness, from not having anything on my mind or whatever. I just get filled up with that loving feeling, and I love it when that happens. But I had no idea that that was an experience when I was off the map. I really didn't know that. I thought it was this sort of kind of heady exchange of words. I love you, that was quite loaded, really. And now it's more like, I don't ever think about it. I just get filled by it, which is really, really nice. And also the whole lovable thing was something that I ran for many years. Not all the time, but certainly over and over again, that I wasn't lovable. And I don't even, I feel funny saying that now, because it's so far removed from how I feel about myself now, but it was so real for so many years. And because it makes sense, because I was always looking for that externally, and because of my misunderstanding, of course I didn't touch I'm lovable very much, or I feel like, feeling that love for me, I didn't touch it very much. And because I was always trying to show up as anyone else other than me, I didn't touch it. But when we show up just as us, and we're totally us, and we're relaxed, and we're funny, and we're, whatever it is, we're just being ourselves, we like ourselves. I do. I think I could say, I'm cute, or I'm funny, or I'm, I found myself thinking those things about me when I'm just being me. It's like, I get it now about me.
And we can't force those feelings. We all have off days where it's just not there. There's no difference to trying to feel love, I guess, to being at a funeral where I might not, you could be at a funeral, I'm really not feeling really sad. And we question it, and we start to punish ourselves, but it is what it is. If the feeling's there, and if you start to force it, gosh.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with that. And sometimes, we just love everything and everybody, don't we? And we're just filled with it, and it doesn't matter. It's amazing, and it's a beautiful thing, but I'm not in touch with that all the time. But that's good to know that whether I can feel it or not, it's not a problem, and it hasn't gone anywhere. I just can't feel it right now because I'm listening to my noise.
So can you say what changed in your thinking then? I think it was you were talking to Carolina, and you were talking about your first date with your now husband, and how it was great, and you had the best date ever. What do you think shifted in your thinking in that relationship compared to previous relationships?
Well, it's interesting that that's how you heard it, best date ever. And I'm not going to dispute that, because, yes. But what I loved about it, it was how I showed up. That's what I loved about it, because I had a laugh, which basically means I was relaxed in myself, and I liked me. I liked the way I showed up, and I had fun. And we had a lot of laughing, and there's a lot of that's definitely on this new map, is like on this treasure island, there's lots of laughter and there's lots of enjoyment to be had when I'm not sort of out at sea trying to work it out. But yeah, I think it just occurred to me, I got a really strong guidance system that suddenly kicked in, where it just occurred to me not to run away into the future, not to be thinking about what happened to me in the past, but just to stay where I was. And so I really showed up to that date like in it, and I just got to know him a bit, and I liked what I saw, and I had a fun time, and I liked the way I showed up because I was just getting to know him and relaxed. So that went really well, and I think that kind of guided me to, it made sense to do that again when we met the next night, like just get to know him a bit more. Like that was very different to the past, where I would be in my head kind of interviewing them, whether they're a candidate for, are they suitable in this way, are they suitable in that way, you know, all that stuff. And then you get into, and you get, you know, into the noise and away from the feeling, the heart stuff, right? So that was the difference. I just started navigating the whole relationship differently and being really much more in the moment.
I love the way that you talk about interviewing them. I mean, I'm perpetually single myself, but I think with me, I've always, I've done a lot of future thinking, but it's like planning the wedding, the babies, about the first date, trying to work out how our names would sound together, you know.
Yes, right. I remember writing that in the rough book, you know, when you do the initials, SM for, you know. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, and it's, you know, that could be a fun activity, right? Like that can be a fun activity, wondering what your names are going to sound like, or what you're going to wear to your own wedding or whatever. But it's like when what I just started seeing was that I got so much joy from showing up and just being together. It was so much fun that I just got less interested in my head, that because yeah, I can have a fun time in my head in a way, like I can go into all these scenarios, but it didn't have the same depth and of enjoyment as just being there. So I was like, you know, every time I got slightly pulled, I want to come back. I want to come back. I want to come back to this. And it served me well. So I did it more. And I'm still doing it. Mostly, or sometimes. I'm quite distracted at the moment by life. Yeah.
Yes, life does get in the way, but I just love the way you're talking about how you're so present when you're with him. And I think in my previous relationships, I probably never have been. I've always been like I said, planning our wedding and what I'm going to call our children after the first date.
Yes. I do understand. And, you know, there were plenty of dates where I showed up where, you know, I was ruling them out on the date. Like, oh, I couldn't go out with someone who does that, or I couldn't go out with someone who wears that, or I couldn't go out with someone, you know, and it's like, and then they'd say something really good. And then I go, oh, maybe I could go out with someone, you know, it was like this whole questioning thing. And because I was on the wrong map, I didn't even know that was like unhelpful. I thought that was how I was going to keep myself safe, or that was how I was going to work out who it was going to be. I didn't have any idea that I was just going about it the wrong way, in an unhelpful way, and that I would be guided by my knowing if I stopped doing that. Yeah.
Something, I was going to say something that's totally gone out of my head.
Christine's got a question. I
Actually,
think.
sorry.
Yeah, it was just a comment really at the same thing. I remember a relationship early on where I was just trying so hard to be the person that he wanted me to be that I completely lost touch with who I really was. And then, of course, it wasn't interesting to him because it's like, really, you know, you sort of disappear. So yeah, I got.
Yeah. And I can totally relate to that. And in fact, in that talk that Anne-Marie was referring to that I gave with Carolina, and then I would personally blame them because I felt like I lost myself in the relationship, and because I couldn't feel myself anymore. I didn't recognize me. And then I'd put that into the relationship, but the relationship's a problem because, I'm not showing up as me. I'm showing up as who I assume will be more accepted than me. And it's always a job, isn't it, when you're doing that? And it's a work, and it's hard work. And then you kind of get yourself more and more. That can really get complicated, can't it? Because then you don't really ever want to show them that you're more like this again. And how it's just, yeah. So if I could say anything, I'd say start as yourself and carry on as yourself.
I just remembered what I was going to say. It was that when you were describing going on to the dates and sort of almost interviewing them in your head, that's almost putting pressure on you that you don't really need because you've got all this additional thinking rather than just relaxing and enjoying the date. So
yeah, and you're not listening to them because that's the other thing that is on my treasure map here, that I put listening on my treasure map, and I also put listening in that sea where I was lost, because but in a different way. So I was always listening when I was lost in the sea. I was always listening, but I was listening for something. I was listening to be reassured, or I was listening that we had a problem. I was always listening out. I was always on guard for trying to stay ahead, to try and, I suppose, try and prevent getting hurt, or and like listening to me now on my treasure island, listening is completely a different thing. It's like listening is all about being present. Listening is about not particularly being interested in only what my head has got to say, but actually getting present to actually take them in and listen to what they've got to say. And yeah, that was something that I didn't even know about when I was lost. Yeah, and it just reminds me of something else that was the on my lost map. I also took everything very personally, and I like if they weren't listening to me, then I would make it have a meaning about the relationship, that they weren't into me or they weren't into the relationship because they didn't really care about me. I'd put all of that on someone not listening to me. Whereas on my treasure island, if Jeremy is not listening to me, I couldn't be less bothered. I mean, I'll just talk to him when he is listening. It's like I don't add everything. But out in the sea, I was always adding everything, and then I was sinking with all the weight. Whereas here, it's like if he's not listening, it's like he's distracted. I don't put any more on it than that. And who cares? I get distracted. It's not, I don't add meaning, and that's such a It's like the weights come off. Everything was so weighty and heavy. And in a way, on my old map, I did think relationships were heavy. I thought that was normal.
I guess the recipe for the perfect relationship is two people showing up as themselves. And if we all learn to do that in everyday life, you know, because it's common, it's that fear thing, isn't it? And we're almost taught in society to almost perform and be something, you know, dress up in a certain way and showcase ourselves to what we're not. You know, and I'm learning from this to find the ideal relationship was two people turning out as themselves. And if you got on with them, you've got the real person, haven't you? That you know you'll get on with long term. It's interesting, very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Has anybody else got any questions or comments?
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Lily.
Hello. Hi, Declan. Nice to see you.
Too.
And Dana. So I really love the Treasure Island theme. Really, really beautiful metaphor. I'm really enjoying it. And I always enjoy listening to you talking about, you know, your transformation in the way you experience relationships. It's always insightful and fun, and you're very cute and very funny.
I think she loves me.
What baffles me and how fascinating this whole thing is that, you know, for you was like finding a man and having a lovely relationship, loving connection, and for me it was like finding my husband again, really, after, I mean, I've been with him, same man, 32 years. And yet what you're talking about is totally relatable, you know? It's not just about being single and finding the love of your life. It's about finding the love of your life over and over again and again with the same person. So it's totally, it's the same. So that's the fascinating thing, because I don't know how I stayed married, to be honest, if you ask me now, at times. And you know, I mean, I was hanging by a thread. My marriage was hanging by a thread. And yet, then at some point when I realized what I had been doing with my own mind, it was all about him giving me what I needed for the first 10 years. And then it was about me finding it elsewhere. I mean, in the world, my work, or not in another man, almost, but, you know, when you're unhappy, you look elsewhere. Yeah. I looked in trainings and you know, self-help and all that. And then finally I landed, or something landed on me that said, no, that's enough with the looking, you know, it's not going to come from him, and it's not going to come from that training, because it's completely there and it's 100%. So I love it when I hear it fresh from you, and I think, oh my God, it can be fresh for anyone, you know, because it's all our own making. So instead of making that cake, I'm going to make this cake.
Yeah.
So
and you know, with you as well, which I think is that people who maybe have been in a long-term relationship could get hope from, is that when it's like, you know, when we get behind certain thinking about a person, our partner, or, you know, and it can feel like a dead end in a way, can't it? Like there isn't hope, or there isn't possibility, unless this and this happens. And then with Lily's thing, none of those things happened, yet she fell right in love with him, like a honeymoon again, because there was a shift in her. And so many people are in long-term relationships who are unhappy because they think the other person, you know, whatever the particular qualities are that they think that person doesn't have, that feel important to them, they can't see a way forward. But if we keep thinking about them in the same way, it feels very stuck. But if we don't get behind that thinking, then other things do show up, whatever's going on. And then you can find, you're like, oh my God, you can't even remember what was so wrong.
That's right.
Like you start again, and there's all this beauty shows up again.
Yeah.
So it's so lovely to.
And then what I like offer that you kind of, when you got married, your wedding, it's so true, because I stopped thinking that I knew him inside out. I stopped. I thought, I don't know this person, so there is so much there to discover, you know, because I don't. Who am I to think that I know what he's about? I don't. And then that opened up. I thought, I really don't know you. Just when I think I figured you all out, I see something else, because I'm more open to, I'm not committed to the thinking I had about him. And then something else new shows up, and you think, oh my God, did you just say that? Did you just do that? So it's really cool.
It's such a
beautiful
reminder.
Topic. Beautiful topic.
It's such a good reminder, isn't it, of whether it's our partner or anybody, that anytime we think we know, whether it's our kids, a friend we've known for 30 years, our parents, and we think, oh, I know what they're about, I know what they're like. And we all do it. I mean, I'm not like, but it's like we get the gifts when we stop doing it, because we suddenly get to discover all this new stuff about the person, and we get to have an easier time around them. And you know, I was over at my parents' house today. I was helping my mum out with some stuff this morning, and I went up to my old bedroom and I looked out, and there was this beautiful tree full of blossom. And it was quite a mature tree. I went to look and I thought, I don't remember that from when I was a kid. And I probably could never see that tree when I was a kid, because I was so in my head with my own upset or dissatisfaction or misery or whatever it was, that I couldn't even see the tree. But I just thought how I was having, like, my parents are quite elderly now, but I was having a really kind of quite nice morning with them, and I was helping them out with different things, and I used to feel so different in that house when I was running different thinking about them. And it was just, I was very light this morning, and it was so nice to feel light in that house and have different feeling about them and around them. It was really, really nice. It was a gift for me, you see. We think we sort of like holding on to that is somehow, it's always a gift for us when we let go of that stuff. So, any other questions? What are you making of all this, Declan?
It's a lovely conversation, and it's funny, I just hung up on a call with a young guy that I talked to, and he was saying, I'm very nervous about going to work and what people think about me. And I said, you know, he knows when he asks himself, is this true? And he's starting to do that now. And he's hearing himself saying, no, I'm okay the way I am. And he says it's a big difference with everything that he's doing. He said, like, he's happy now picking up rocks, for instance, where if I had told him that a year ago, he would have got me committed. So he's just asking himself now, what's true? Who am I? That's the start. You know, what's the difference between, yeah, I'm the exact same as everybody else in the world, or, oh, I have to do it this way, or I have to feel like this, or I have to do that, or I have to make them like me. And now when he sees that and looks at that assumption and asks that question, is that really true? And then the next part of that is, well, if that wasn't true, what would I do? And then that gives him a chance to walk into the situation from a completely different way, and let his insights or let his wisdom or let his fresh thinking change his habit, you know, or turn up in a different way, without all the preconceived ideas and beliefs that he has which most of us have, about
Yeah.
ourselves and the world and how it all works. So yeah, it's a very and exactly what you were saying. I was just saying, yeah, you've just said it in a different way, and it's the same for everybody. If we start with ourselves and love ourselves, well, then we're not trying to put anything on anybody. And if we show up with that, that we're the exact same energy, and that takes a whole lot of stuff off the table or out of the boat.
Yeah, yeah. I'm happy your young friend has seen that. That's so cool to see that young. I wish I'd seen that young.
Yeah, that's what I said to him. You know, when you get to my age and you look back and you say, "Wow, I didn't waste another 40 years."
Yeah, it's really, really
Yeah, but
cool.
everybody's is the same. Like we all have our own time of when we see it,
Mm,
and it's exactly right for every one of us. And we can't push somebody or try and help them or make them feel better. We have to give them the
yeah,
attention of listening to them and letting them hear themselves.
yeah,
It's only lately that I've said, well, there's a little bit of a shortcut there. It brings a little bit more thinking into the equation, but our minds are love to answer that question. What if that wasn't true? What could I do next? And then that allows your mind to give you your fresh thinking or your wisdom to come through. And it just, because I've been talking to people for years and listening to people for years, and they go around in circles for whatever. It could be 10 years or 5
yeah,
years, or it could be 5 months. So I think, and I've just seen this lately, that a shortcut to who we are or what's going on or how we see through our limiting beliefs is giving ourselves a chance to, well, what if that wasn't true? You know, being curious about it and taking
yeah,
it, oh yeah, well, what could I do then? And your mind is brilliant at saying, well, why don't you just go and try it or have fun?
yes,
Or yeah, let's see what's
yeah,
different. Don't do it like you always did it. If you
yeah,
don't keep going down the same road on the map, you know, just say, well,
yeah,
this time I'm going to go the opposite way and see what happens.
yeah.
You might
And
get lost.
it's that feeling, isn't it? It's like it's just that ease, the way you're talking about it. It's like, you know, you just get spacious again, and then you get these new ideas or new thoughts or new possibility. And I think that's the thing about the way I navigate relationship now, is when I do feel tight or constrained, like I really listen to that clue. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, I can follow that and I can stay annoyed for an evening, or, you know, I used to do it all the time, or be right, or whatever it is, right? But I feel that tightness and I'm like, I don't want to go there. It's like, I'd much rather be back in a good feeling. And then of course when you expand again, then something else comes in and you see a different perspective, because you couldn't see that perspective when you're tight. And it's so yeah, it's like, you know, go back to your question, Anne-Marie, about how I kind of do it now. It's like I really navigate it by feel, and luckily I was just somehow blessed this time round for that to make sense to me. And then the more I've done it, the more it's panned out, the more, why wouldn't I do it? You know, there's no other way to do it now. It's like, it's just, and I'm grateful every day for what I know, because I still see those things come up where I would have dealt with it differently in the past. Every day they come up, of course they do. And I can see how I would have gone, and how I'd, like I would have said, I'd be in a bad mood or lost an evening, or, you know, or just be a bitch, you know, or, you know, and unpleasant or whatever it is. And it's not like I'm never those things, but I don't hang out there because I don't want to hang out there.
Yeah. We kind of know now there's a different place, there's a different feeling, and our GPS tells us if we're feeling tight, let's have a look at the thought. Let's see where we're going. What road are we going down? And
Yeah.
it's a great system. We kind of feel tight and then we question it. And then we say, so what's that all about? Oh, and then we start turning around, recalculating and get back into the feeling of oh, I'm perfectly good the way I am, or I love myself, or whatever.
Yeah. And in my analogy, we know, with the treasure island and the sea, and, you know, like Sid always talks about, you know, like navigate. I can't remember exactly what he says about the rocks and, you know, navigating away from the rocks. And it's like, you know, I was just getting, in the old way, I was always just getting tossed around in the sea and constantly hitting rocks and not quite knowing what would happen next, or, you know, was kind of bracing myself for what might happen next, and feeling like the kind of you know, those buoys, those the rubber rings you wear around your waist, they would always kind of be outside things that I would try and grab onto. Yeah. And, you know, on this island, it's like, yeah, it's like, I just very much look to me to see, you know, and see what my wisdom says about what to do in each moment. I mean, it just happens very naturally now, and that's what makes sense to me. It's just a very, very different way of going about relationship. And it took me all those years to see that what I was doing before, I mean, look, I could see it wasn't really working for me, but I just didn't have another idea. I did my best. But you know, looking at it and from the overview now, you can just see how, you know, I was just completely on this wrong map, and how one thing was leading to another thing that was just guiding me away from, I mean, I'm sure my wisdom was trying to guide me, but because I was just so interested in my intellect working everything out, I just didn't really listen to it. I'm sure it was trying to show me ways and things, and I'm sure it did, but I would always override it before, and now it doesn't make any sense to me anymore to do that.
Yeah, that's lovely.
I just wanted to say that I'm very excited about being in my next relationship.
Oh, that's
and
so
just seeing,
lovely to hear.
And seeing how different it can be.
That's
it
beautiful.
will be.
That's beautiful. And it's really, you know, I think that kind of imagining, you know, when you get that sort of sense of, oh my gosh, something could really feel different, that felt sense that it could be different, is a beautiful place to be in the world. And see where you're guided or what comes to you. I love that. Beautiful. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's really
Thank
great.
you all for coming. Thank you, Anne-Marie, for having me.
It's all right, lovely having you.
Oh.
I'll see you all soon, hopefully.
Yes, and anybody who's looking for love, good luck, and I want to hear all about it.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.